And we are back with this week's edition of Two Coaches, One Grizz. Your boys back from a very short hiatus that was very much needed for my mental sanity. On today's show, we got college basketball is rolling. UFC starts off fast. We got some surprising NFL news, but we need to start with this weekend's slate of game in the divisional playoffs in the NFL, which I believe, in my very humble opinion, is the best weekend in football all year. Both number one seeds go down, which is crazy to think, and it was nail biters across the board, gentlemen. Coach, let's start off with you. What just give me your thoughts. I know it's a lot to digest here and to unpack, but what initial thoughts? Go.
I was talking to somebody this morning, and I really feel that all four games were quality games. They were all good football games. I know that the earlier games with the Niners and Green Bay and Cincinnati and Tennessee were more slugfest, lower scoring affairs. But again, if you're into football, you're able to understand a little bit of what they did, what each team was trying to do. The weather in Green Bay did not lend itself for throwing and for wide open offenses, as we saw later on in the other two games that really blew everything else out of the water. But it was a great weekend of football. Great weekend of football.
Grizz, you're pondering here.
Pondering. I'm pondering because I agree totally with you. The divisional round is the best week of football every year because you have the best 8. You go from the week before, where we could probably say it was a snort fest. That was a really like a weak wildcard round. I don't know how super that wildcard round was, but I can easily say I think this is not a hyperbole. I think this is the best 4-game weekend of football I've ever seen in my life. I mean, every game, it's amazing. The Bengals and Titan game alone, any other day, great game. Maybe not flashy, but tough, hard-nosed football, big upset, young quarterback making a name for himself. And then what do we got next? We got the 49ers, that's a team that's hot.
Team of destiny.
A team that doesn't score a touchdown by the offense the whole game, that gets a block punt with 4 minutes to go, a block field goal, I think first time that's happened since the 88 postseason, and they take out Rodgers. And some would say it was a win for the vaccinated. That's what I've been hearing around the rounds. So then that's Saturday, an amazing night. You can't top that. You go into Sunday with one of the craziest games I've seen, where the Rams are up 27-3. Stafford is proving himself. He's making, he's showing us that he's the real deal. And, it's the GOAT. The GOAT's on the way out. Is the GOAT gone? 27-3. Who would have thought?
Been there before.
And let me tell you, personal reasons, I had a very interesting reason to watch this game. And it was a heart attack waiting to happen kind of game. And, of course, I knew deep down the GOAT was going to tie this game. The GOAT did so. But I have no idea how you do not cover Cooper Kupp, the best Triple Crown receiver.
How do you put a safety on him?
How do you put a safety on
that guy?
My fellow coaches, explain to me, can you break that play down?
How do you play man-to-man with a safety and nothing over the top?
Not only did they put a safety on him, they put a safety 5 to 7 yards off of him.
One-on-one, man. Nothing over the top, no help, nothing.
Safeties by definition are not good coverage defenders.
Correct. I mean,
we're watching some of the, best of the best. I get it, but Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. How do you call that? But
with that being said, if after you watch the San Francisco game, right, and I was watching the game and I commented, if they start bracketing and double teaming Devontae, it'll change the game. Well, they started double teaming Devontae. Had one guy under, one guy over the top. I said, okay, the other guy's got to beat us. Then you go to that game and you say, no, Cooper Kupp. Nah, you're not that important anymore. It's the playoffs now. You're not going to catch it. What exactly is Bowles doing? Like, how do you even think? And how much time is left? You're gonna go to overtime with the GOAT.
Yeah, there's nothing that says that should ever happen. And personally, I'm a happy guy about it. But as a purist, I'm like, what just happened? So now we got that. What an amazing game. There's no way. I've just gone from a Bengals-Titans game that was great. We upped the notch a little bit, right, with the best quarterback, some would say, in the league. And again, he loses. He just doesn't do well in the playoffs.
The 49ers execute
the Niners do what they do against them. But then we go upgrade that to the Rams-Bucks game. It can't get better, guys. And then Bills-Chiefs, hold my beer. You got Allen and Mahomes.
An instant classic. Instant classic.
It's like watching a concert, and seeing them just perform at top notch. I mean, you have the Dolphins aren't winning anything for the next 10 years with whatever quarterback we get, probably because of Allen and Mahomes. And I mean, the game is amazing up to the 2-minute warning. It's still a great game. And then
you get 2 minutes.
4th and 13 with 2 minutes. I watched this 30-minute clip that NFL put on YouTube. I've seen it already 3 times.
And it's a laser.
At the 2-minute warning, it's 4th and 13. There's no way that you give up a first down, let alone a wide open. Because what's this kid's name? Davis, who had never heard of this guy, breaks the all-time receiving touchdown record, and he breaks this guy's legs. They needed to cart that guy out. I don't know if you saw the replays on that guy. Make Allen Iverson proud. But that video starts with a 4th and 13, and it says it's 30 minutes long. If they stop him there, the game's over, right?
Well, that's it.
Game's over. So that play gives us 30 more minutes of greatness, bro.
And then to top it off, he's rolling out to his left, throws it opposite from his body in back of the end zone for the 2-point conversion.
Exactly. The 2-pointer is exactly what I was going to say next. And then that's it, right? This guy just put in, he left a couple minutes, but it's going to be tough. And then Mahomes.
5 lead changes, was it?
Yeah. Tyreek Hill, what is this?
Guys, it was at one point, I think it was 14-14 in the third.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was still a good game.
14-14 in the third. And all of a sudden, they scored a billion points.
Yeah, it's 26-21 at the point of the 2-minute warning. It's still, we're looking for one touchdown for the over, right? We're just looking for a little touchdown. They gave you 25 points, man, after that.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Tyreek Hill throws the deuces up on this guy before. Like, the guy still has the angle on him.
The guy has a 15-yard angle on him.
Still has an angle on him, and he goes deuces, touchdown.
But
it's over, right?
You know what's funny?
Psych.
Let me tell you what the incredible thing about all this is that if you take a look at each of those individual plays, you see guys get out of position. You see defenders put themselves out of position to allow those plays to happen. Yeah. Because, number one, with a Tyreek Hill, Buffalo's in a cover 2. They're in a 2 deep. They're 5 under.
5 under 2 deep.
5 under 2 deep. The outside guy, I think it was a corner, was outside. He squeezes that route a little bit too much. And as Hill comes, he slips. And Hill hits the corner, hits the sideline.
And there it goes. The cheetah's gone.
If you take a look at the touchdown, the other touchdown we were talking about, again, now the Chiefs are in a too high look, 2 safeties. The safety on the opposite side decides to play and come down and attack the one
on
receiver.
The out route.
And boom. There goes Davis behind him for a touchdown. So it's incredible that when you know the game and when you know schematics and when you know scheme wise, you're looking at it going, man, they're in the perfect set. They're in the and no, it's not, because guys do undisciplined things, individuals make mistakes, and all of a sudden you have these huge plays.
Can I also say something that I don't think it's we're talking about what we perceive as elite athletes, but at every level of the game. And if you look at how the game progresses and we're at the point of the season that we're in, listen, I don't care if you're playing Pop Warner or you're in the divisional round of the playoffs, conditioning matters.
Of course.
They were gassed.
I believe you can be as conditioned as you want, but that was one of the factors.
Listen,
these guys are exhausted.
Weather plays into it. You're in the fourth quarter.
Your lungs are burning.
It becomes a situation where you're
probably playing the 2 most elite quarterbacks. Right. We're just, you got to give. This is a day of giving. I did make. How do you give up that touchdown to Cup? And then there's a couple things I'm going to mention in a few minutes now. How do you do that? But today is, I think we got to marvel at how great and these guys beat the number one defense.
And I was going to say that.
You know what I'm
that
saying?
this,
Like,
this is something
crazy.
that if you're a football fan, you need to savor this moment because those two guys put on an incredible show. Mm-hmm. We count on them doing it for the next 5 years, 10 years.
This at least is
but this was an incredible show.
It's sad that one of them had to lose.
I know, but here we go. Chiefs score, and then this guy has to bring them down in a minute. And he scores with 13 seconds, you're saying, with the 4th touchdown. That's over, right, Frank?
Yeah, no,
I've said it 3 times.
It's 13 seconds.
And then
13 seconds.
13 seconds.
And
13 seconds.
Honestly, I don't
and then
disagree with
when
kicking the ball to the...
there's
I don't think you do that.
No. In that instance, no, you don't. In that instance, you're trying to avoid a kick return or whatever.
Yeah.
So what you do is you'll squib it.
Correct.
There's different things you do to avoid those issues.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
However,
as a career football guy, right? I've been a special teams coordinator. I've been a defensive coordinator. In that situation, you squib the crap out of the ball. Right?
Hold on, guys. Can you not squib the ball and immediately catch it and go down? No time goes off. You give no time.
Yes, but you kick it in the hole to where it goes to the second level.
You're asking the kicker to be precise in a spot.
But it's the NFL,
hold on,
Coach.
guys. Yes, the
Grizz.
NFL. How about the number one defense? The number one defense in the league. 13 seconds, bro. You need 2 plays because you have to leave about 2 to 3 seconds to call your timeout for the kick. So it's 2 plays. How about we stop? I don't
Grizz.
care. How about you stop?
I completely agree with you.
This is NFL football.
Correct.
These kickers,
You've never seen that before in your life.
You
For
kick
13 seconds.
to the
Never.
second level.
Right.
My
This
issue
is an
is
oblong ball that doesn't bounce
when you
predictably.
when you put them in that situation, right? What's the number one thing you're thinking? You're playing prevent. Don't get beat deep. Keep it in front of you, etc. Et
You want them to catch the ball and tackle
Did
him.
they give them too much cushion?
Right.
Yes, of course they gave them too much cushion, because if you listen to any of the stuff that they've given you on Kelsey ended up being the one that said, "Hey, if they line up like that, we're going to do this," and then, "Hey, I'm going to come and run this route," because again, they were too loose. They were too loose. So the idea of squib kicking it is they get it, but they get it down at the 15, at the 10.
Right.
It's not at the 25 with no time off the clock.
And the clock's going to run until they get touched.
Way, and I'm just saying, if someone gets lucky and they're able to get the ball before it gets to the 15,
Yeah, but when you squib the ball, you're not going to take the chance of that. When you squib the ball, you're squibbing it with velocity.
You're not taking a chance of.
Right.
Listen, the problem is you don't want to take a chance of doing that.
No, but I think anybody. First of all, you know for a fact, okay, you're not going to kind of give up a touchdown at least with the 13 seconds with the offense. You got to stop them for a field goal.
But all they needed was a field goal.
Correct. But even then, they got to a 50-yard field goal, right? You could have stopped them. You could have stopped them. And
no argument.
Don't
No
ever
argument.
blame the thought of not squibbing it.
No
Here's the
argument.
thing: when you're in a dime look on defense like that, like you have the nickel.
No, you
cover
have
over.
to.
You want
But
him to
you
catch
have
the
to be
ball
in
to
those,
tackle him inbounds.
Right.
Because it's going to take 7 seconds for you to line up.
That's not the thing. You're dealing with the whole field's open because they have the 3 timeouts. So it doesn't matter where it is. It's just you can't let
all of their calls.
That hill little 15, 20 yard
Because they were 12 yards
Oh,
off.
they're scared. They don't want to give that big pass.
But what you do is then you play either you play a 3 deep over and man under and rush 3, because again you can rush 3.
Right.
The longer he holds the ball, the better. So you can rush 3, 5 under, 3 deep. Okay, here we go. Or you can rush 4. Again, you play a man under with 2 deep over the top.
Which is a little risky. You're leaving a lot of space there because too deep.
But I'm going to hit you. But I'm going to bump you. I'm going to hit. I'm going to keep you on the line. I'm going to do everything I can to disrupt the routes and make it a longer process.
No,
gives my D-line,
agree on that.
And gives my D-line a chance to rush you. Instead of the whole sequence of kicking it off deep and playing the way they played was dumb. Just like with Bulls. It's
playing
dumb.
the way they played. That's the dumb part. It's to me. It's
correct.
Not kicking
Correct.
it deep. That was the dumb part. They should have. But that's what I'm saying.
It's a domino effect, brother.
If you're the number one defense, you got to come up and stop them. Even though you haven't the whole game, but the big players make that play at the end of the day, and I just.
You can't, but they allowed them to catch it. If you notice, they played super loose. So again, that's what I'm saying.
So that's what
there was no bump and run. There was nothing. They let him run his route.
That's their mistake, but I just don't blame it on. They should have just been better and not done that.
Oh, no, I don't blame it on any. I'm not. Listen,
I just think once again,
I'm not one of those guys
takes over.
But I'm going to tell you, I'm not one of those guys that's saying that the overtime sucks. No.
Oh, and then the overtime part is another thing too.
Whoever wins
Once
the coin
again,
toss,
you
whatever,
stop
you gotta
them
stop
before
it.
the
You
game,
gotta
don't
stop
win
them.
the game.
That's it. You gotta
And
stop
we've
them.
played this game our whole lives where it's been sudden death. Once again, they give you the opportunity now. It's got to be a touchdown to win the game. It used to be a field goal. A field goal, yeah, bro. They're gonna get a field goal for sure. You have no deal. But a touchdown, you can stop them. I know
think
that you
there's
can pull
just.
a
I think
field
it's
goal.
just a gripe because of the game that it was and the quarterbacks and the way that they were playing.
You kidding
You know
me?
what I'm saying? Like
I want more.
I think any NFL fan that night wanted that to be an extra fifth quarter.
Of course, I wanted it to last the whole game. I wanted the Chiefs to only make a field goal and then a field goal back, and I wanted all of that.
Everybody wanted a replay of the LSU Texas A&M game, which went
But guess what?
8 overtimes, and the other one this year, the Penn State. Penn State one that went 9. I mean,
but you saw something just as great. You saw Pat Mahomes say, "I'm just going to finish it right now." With what exactly the same thing happened to him 3 years ago, where Brady did it to him in overtime. He never saw the field,
right?
And they wanted to change it,
and they had that game won.
Yeah.
They
Same
had
thing.
that game.
They were the one with the momentum.
Brady throws a pick. Justin Houston offside.
This is the exact same game. It just flipped, and it was KC's time. And guess what? They wanted to change the rule. It was voted on, and the Bills, one of the teams that had the opportunity to change that rule, did not. You reap what you sow, buddy.
They went with
That's all I got to say is I don't want to hear any of that noise.
It was a great game.
It's just insane.
It's a game that will live in infamy. It's an amazing game. And it's a shame that a guy throws 9 touchdowns with no interceptions in 2 games.
9
and
for
he's gone.
9 in the red zone.
gone.
He played perfect football for 8 quarters essentially, and still loses.
Yeah, we'll see you next year.
Again,
That's why it's a team sport.
It's
Correct.
not.
That's
correct.
why
it's
that's
the ultimate team sport.
That ain't basketball where one guy takes over and hey, get on my back. These guys did the most they could, but guess what? That guy
I'll tell you who's the biggest loser.
Defense.
I'll tell you who's the biggest loser. Leslie Frazier cost himself a head coaching job with this this situation.
We'll see.
Okay, I mean we'll see. Listen,
You can't let one play kind of determine what the body of work of the guy is. I'm sure one team will figure, hey man, you made a mistake. We'll
Here. My overall, my takeaways going back to Bengals Titans, right? Did Burrows thrust himself into elite status with that game?
First quarterback ever with 9 sacks to win a game.
Also, Ryan Tannehill with a pick to start the game, a pick in the middle of the game, and then a pick to end the game.
But again, that again, I think that has a lot to do more with the Bengals defense. Yeah. I mean, he played well, but he didn't play spectacular.
I think 2 out of 3 of those interceptions were actually batted. They were kind of not his fault. Whatever. The point is, Ryan Tannehill is just what Ryan Tannehill is. He's just a good quarterback.
Side note:
he ain't gonna lead you anywhere.
Cincinnati was 0 in franchise history in road playoff games before this. 0-7.
Never had won a road game. Crazy.
So that says a lot there.
Crazy.
They were able to win 2 playoff games this year, which they had not done in a lot.
They hadn't won 1 in 31, and now they're on a winning streak. They're hot.
And listen, people can talk all that jazz about Garoppolo. That dude wins.
Once again.
On the flip side, Aaron Rodgers playing tentative.
I've been hearing lately about quarterbacks that might not be able to lead teams to Super Bowls. But at the end of the day, you do need parts, man. And you put the right parts, mostly any quarterback that
led his
can
team
throw
to
a
a
ball
Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Huh?
That guy led his team to a Super Bowl.
To a Super Bowl. He ain't a bad quarterback. But he's not, your top 10 elite quarterbacks. But guess what? You don't need that. You need an amazing defense. You need amazing. He's got slash 2.0 with Deebo Samuels. That guy's amazing.
You mean the WRB?
That
the
guy,
wide receiver running back?
Oh, that guy's awesome. I love me some Deebo. And then he's got an amazing running game, good offensive line. You're got the parts, man.
The thing with him is he cannot win you the game.
Yeah.
Sadly, if you take a look at some of the throws that he threw that day, they should have been pick sixes. Because he kept throwing the flat 30 seconds late.
They won in spite
staring
of
him down.
Yeah, it was.
They won in spite
of him.
But that's still. I mean, you got the defense. They go to bat for their guy, and that's the thing. Sometimes you got to go up for your bat and exactly know what your role is. He's not. He played with Tom Brady. He's not Tom Brady.
Correct.
He's a good quarterback that hopefully doesn't make the mistakes, keeps you in the game, and then you wait for a pump block. Of course, with 4 minutes to go, win the game. That's all.
Field goal.
So
the defense stops the defense stops the best regular season quarterback maybe besides Peyton Manning ever. That's all I don't get this game anymore.
I mean, listen, it was insanity across the board. We've covered the Rams' trials and tribulations many times over the past several weeks, right? Looking at Matthew Stafford, and what did we say, right? And I remember myself, I said it several times, or in the past month. If they're going to win, they're going to be successful, it needs to be on Matthew Stafford's shoulders, and he put them on his back. And it's crazy. The Rams had 4 turnovers, none of them were picks. He played out of his mind. When was the last time you saw a game with 4 turnovers and none of them were picks? That's insane. I mean, Sam Akers, or
it's been a while, maybe, but
fumbleitis.
Regardless of how many fumbles there were, no interceptions from Matt Stafford. That's a good thing.
Yes.
I mean, he played lights out. The guy is on a mission. And 2 games ago, he was just another guy. He was good. He was a good number 1 overall pick, but he wasn't living up to his potential. You trade away another quarterback that led a team to a Super Bowl in Goff. You got to believe you got to win. And guess what? He's won.
It's Super Bowl or bust for sure.
Yeah, he beat the Arizona Cardinals, who they were on the way out anyway. But then he comes back and he puts that up.
I think that again, and we've talked about it a few times about who gets hot, who's peaking at the right time. And I think that they are gelling together at the right time. Their defensive line is really starting to play now, because that was important early in that game.
Von Miller, basically, they traded Von Miller for what he did in that game. So they're good with that.
I think going into this game, and that's gonna determine a lot how they're able to play against a different style of offense.
Well,
because Tampa Bay was not a runner.
They've lost 6 to straight to them. So.
And they don't. Tampa Bay doesn't run the ball as much. Not. Early on in the game, they were running the ball. They were successful. And they got away from it. So again, we'll have to see how this defense plays and shows up to this game, because that to me is going to be the key. Yeah. I know the offense is going to put up points. They're going to be able to move the ball, because I think they have enough weapons with the running game and the tight end. They have everything they need.
Right.
So they'll be able to put up some scores. It's defensively. How are they going to be able to stop that running game?
But they have no one to blame but themselves, because at the last game of the year, they had the Niners dead to rights at 17-0.
Correct.
Let them off the hook.
No, but they did the same thing against Tampa Bay. Listen, they did the same thing.
No, but I'm just saying, Ken, they've
been doing that all season.
They could have knocked out those Niners and get rid of those pesky Niners, because they've lost 6 in a row. And this is a bad matchup from. But I do believe, even having said that I think this is the one they're going to turn it around.
Listen, Coach says it all the time. It's really hard to beat your divisional opponent 3 times in a row.
I just said 6 times.
Well, 6 times, but I'm saying in
the same season.
In the season.
No, I totally agree. But are we going to be shocked if they do?
No.
I don't think.
No, the problem is we go back to matchups.
Yeah.
And this is a good matchup for San Francisco's offense.
Of course.
And their defense. They match up really well.
They're not going to show up like they did at Green Bay. They'll have some scores in them. I think they can put up at least 20.
The Rams are built to stop spread out offenses. And this is anything but.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying. This is
and also you have...
It's a better thing that they're playing at home.
Yeah, you have Eric Weddle.
Play at Green Bay,
Eric Weddle, who's like 60 years old.
No, the safety comes back.
Is he coming back?
Yeah, the safety's back. He was on concussion protocol, so he'll be okay. He'll be all right.
Which was hilarious. The guy hasn't played 3. Hey, by the way, you want to play a playoff game? Yeah, I'm ready.
It's funny. Sure he almost cost him a big play.
Hold my beer.
I'm sure a lot of these guys that retire kind of young, if they just get called for playoff games, they sign up. Why not? You want me to just play playoff games? Sure, I'm in.
Listen. All right, and let's talk AFC Championship here for a second.
I'm excited. What I tell you, I wanted to see the Chiefs and the Bengals. This is, I think, a really good matchup.
I was saying Bengals dark horse all
saw
season
it too,
long,
bro. I mean, I don't think all season I was with them, but I just the last couple of weeks and this kid, bro. Once he beat the Chiefs, that's where I was like, they got a shot.
Once the season got into stride, it felt like the Bengals came in waves. It was. They just it was like a tsunami. It just kept coming, and they kept compounding on themselves.
The key has been Jamar Chase and him have really gelled again.
Correct.
And I think that's been a big difference. So again, there's another one going into this game. That's another guy that I would use a basketball terminology. I would play box and 1. I would man under, somebody over the top, and everybody else zone, and see, they got to beat me. Tyler Boyd, all those guys got to beat me. Jamar Chase isn't beating me.
And that's the thing. The reason why they still got a shot because they got a good amount of talent on that. Right. Mixon is really good out of the backfield catching the ball.
Right.
I think that at the end of the day, just the fact that Burrow's here, he doesn't even know where he's at. Feels like when Ben Roethlisberger made it in his second season to a Super Bowl. I think Russ did in the second or third. It's just he's that kind of guy is really earning his name Joe Cool. I mean, the guy under 9 sacks, man, was still. Hey, man, sometimes it's not pretty, man. But those field goals add up, and if you get more points than the other team, they tell me you win.
Well, that's all that matters. And that's the point that I that's the point that I was trying to make to he who must not be named on our chat. The Schleppy of all Schlepp rocks. He's done it in spite of subpar offensive line play. Yes, are they better than they were last year? But they didn't really address the position as they should have, right? Like, it was actually a controversial pick to go with Jamar Chase at that point because they needed so much O-line help. So the dudes, listen, strapped it on and done it in spite of. And like you said, 9 sacks, and then just to get back up, get punched in the mouth, and then keep going. Like, you're built differently. You're cut from a different cloth when you're able to do that. And not be shaken. Not be shaken. And let's do it again. Line back up. Let's make it happen. You don't see many dudes like that. A lot of dudes that go through the abuse that he's gone through, they get a little shell shocked,
little gun shy. But no, it's definitely gonna be a fun matchup to watch against those two. So let's call it dead to rights. Who you got?
I'm going with what we should have seen a couple years ago. I'm going for a Chiefs-Rams Super Bowl. I want to see if we can match that outing that I think was in the 50s a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, we watched it at Flanagan's.
Yeah, see if we could get a good, maybe not in the 50s, but a high-scoring Super Bowl that's nail-biting. It would be fun. And I'm not going to lie, it doesn't matter. Give me the Bengals and Niners for the third time, man. Let's see if they can finally get one over the hump,
Ooh.
Nah, I don't think that's going to happen. It'd be crazy if that happens, but...
Listen, has this past weekend taught you anything?
No, I know that, but this is what happens when you have the craziness that happened like that. Sometimes now things come a little bit back to
there's a regression
form.
to the mean.
A little bit, because once again, we're dealing with now Joe Burrow has to go out for a third time, second year, and now he has to go up against the defending, 4-time they're hosting the AFC Championship game. You're going against today's version of the GOAT. And then, the Niners, Cinderella, is the slipper going to keep failing? Is Gil right? You can't beat three times. Can you beat the team in a season?
My thing with both games is that they match up really, really well.
They do.
Cincinnati throws the ball, and as we saw the other day, Kansas City's not that good covering.
No.
They really can't cover the ball.
No.
They pass very well.
But do you think the Bills' offense is a little better than the Bengals?
No, I think it is. But when you take a look at the Bengals' offense, it is they have a lot of pieces.
I think they can score 30. I think this game's in the 30s.
The only problem is, like Frank was talking about, is their offensive line. Their offensive line is what hurts them. If they can keep it to where they can block, they have a shot. Yeah. As we said the other day, they have a puncher shot.
I believe personally, because I'm going to put a nice little teaser out there. Both of them. Bengals and Niners tease them, take them to cover, and the overs.
I already took the over. I took the over 53.5. It's already up to 54.5. And it came back down to 54.
My thing is, the Bengals too also have the best the best wide receiving core. I think that's around. Like Tyler Boyd doesn't get enough credit.
I think Tyler Boyd's awesome too. Don't get me wrong. Higgins had a game this year that was ridiculous, but bro. I thought Tyreek Hill was the only guy on their team, and they got Pringle's awesome. They got now what's number one?
You got Kelsey. You got McKinnon.
That guy's coming. I mean, this guy's got weapons, bro. I mean, they got a lot of guys that I'm getting to know now for the Chiefs. They're kind of showing up.
But the Bengals defense is good.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, so that game to me is going to be close. I think Kansas City wins it. Yeah. I think that game's going to be close. The other game. I do feel that San Francisco matches up really, really well with them. They don't fear them. And I think that the way that they play defense, it just changes the complexion of how the game goes.
Yeah, I mean,
if their D-line, again, if their D-line finished healthy, I said it last week when we talked, that if the San Francisco D-line is healthy, they can win. They can win the game, and they did.
They're able to rush 4 and get pressure with 4, which is huge in the playoffs.
And not only that, but they play the run well as well. Their linebackers play very well. So again, that is one of the more complete defenses.
Right.
Schematics, et cetera, et cetera. The offense runs the ball down your throat, comes up with a million ways to run it. Comes up with a million ways to run it, and then they play action off of it, and they're able to
dink and dunk. Keep people honest.
Exactly. So to me, that game is more upset-minded than the Kansas City-Cincinnati game.
Right.
So I mean, I do think
so you're picking the Niners.
I think it's going to be San Francisco and Kansas City.
Okay, I like that.
I think it's going to be a repeat of 2 years ago.
I'm going to go. I've been on the Bengals bandwagon for a minute now.
All right.
I'm going to go Bengals Niners just because I need to stay I need to stay on the Bengals bandwagon, and also the man who raised me is a diehard Niners fan. Okay. So I got to go with that.
A super upset pick by Frankie. Gil will go with the half and half, and I'm just going chalk.
You're going
when
chalk?
I love the upset.
It sounds like it.
When I love the upset.
And the thing
Don't get me wrong. You know I'm putting a little small little parlay.
He's going chalk, but his heart says upset.
Yeah, I put a nice little 3-team upset parlay, bro. Of course. I'm all about betting is different for me. I'll put a nice little 25 on the Niners and Bengals pulling this off. But I just believe if I'm a fan, first of all, I want to see the Chiefs-Rams right now. That I just the way this weekend was, I think that'll be the more fun Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm fine with any match. I think any matchup is cool.
And you brought up a great point. I forgot about that. We actually watched that game live, and it was one of the most amazing spectacles
I've ever seen. How much fun do we have
seen.
watching that game at Flanagan's? And I'm not the biggest. I've grown to not be a watcher at bars type anymore. I like to listen to the games. That game you didn't need to listen to.
No,
that game was just pinball machine back and forth. I thought I was watching
prime time. Yeah. It had
I
all
thought I was
feels.
watching a Madden game or something, where people were just going nuts with playing against the easy side of the computer on the defense.
It had all the feels. That was
Wasn't it in Mexico
amazing.
too?
It was in Mexico City.
That's awesome.
Yeah, at elevation, so the ball was flying a little.
It was supposed to be in LA, and they had to postpone it because of fires.
Correct.
So I think we're destined for a Rams at home Super Bowl, which, by the way, would make it 2 years in a row when it's never happened before.
Correct.
Funny how that happens.
Back to back.
And you're going to have the Chiefs play there when they should have played there 3 years ago. And let's see, And we upgraded, I think, the quarterback of that Rams team, so it should be even more fun. But like I said, I'm good with anything, man. How about we just have 2 more fun games, bro? I'm good with that, too.
On a side note, I know I already made my pick, but it would be amazing to see Stafford get a ring. I think if anyone deserves it, it's that dude.
Yeah. We'll talk about that next week when whoever makes it. But if it's Stafford that makes it, depending on who he plays, I'll see if I agree with that. I'm thinking one way or the other.
Definitely going to be interesting, and I want to end the segment with a public service announcement. Can we guarantee poker for the AFC and NFC championship games, please? Can we put our energy?
There's no guarantee, sir.
There's no guarantee.
Can we put our energy towards that?
No, there is no.
We'll try.
Thanks for the confidence, gentlemen.
That's what we're here for.
We're going to jump right into some UFC talk, a topic that's near and dear to Coach's heart, headlined by 2 absolute titanosaurs going against one another in Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane. Just 2 absolute monsters. Coach, recap this for us.
Listen, I don't know if I have enough accolades. Francis Ngannou fought. First of all, he fought with a torn MCL.
That's insane.
Okay, and a sprained ACL. Okay, so he had one knee that was
gone
out. He wore 2 knee braces to fight. And he didn't punch his way to a championship to defend his championship. He wrestled his way to defend his championship. That's not his thing. That's not his style. But the funny thing about it is, before he walked into the ring, there's a young gentleman there with a hat on.
Ooh.
A black gentleman there with a hat on. I look at him, I go, man, that guy looks familiar. That guy look like, is that Usman?
The toe tapper himself.
Is that Kamaru? Usman? And all of a sudden the announcer goes, yeah, and in the corner there, Kamaru Usman has been training with Francis Ngannou, I go, oh my God, this is. And now we see exactly how this man was able to adapt his game to beat a faster, younger Tiger.
Right.
Because Gane.
And that guy wrestles more.
Well,
he's more into the wrestling game.
He had him in a footlock during the fight, which almost
and Gane got out of that.
They thought they were going to tap him out, and he was able to get out of it. So I mean, it was just
he suplexed him at one point that I was like,
oh no, what a great takedown that was! That was a beautiful takedown.
That man that he suplexed is a really big man. Like I'm a big man.
No. It definitely registered on the Richter scale for sure.
Man, it was
he
beautiful.
did it like nothing.
No. He clasped both hands underneath, picked them up.
Yeah.
I mean, DC was on the commentator's table, and he was impressed.
Yeah,
he was so impressed by that man's wrestling capabilities. And again, he's a puncher. He's always been a puncher. He's a knockout guy. He stops you on punches. He's coming to rip your head off.
Right.
He's coming to stick you through the mat.
Yeah, that's what most people wanted to see. That's probably why.
So interesting question. You follow the sport closely. We're more casual watchers. Do you think that information was kept tightly to the chest, or you think the other camp knew that he was
they had no clue. No one had a clue that this man was going to wrestle. No one had a clue.
And he didn't bring it out to like the third.
Until
the first and second, they hadn't done that.
Because Cyril was moving and was still moving very well.
Yeah.
Once, if you notice, Cyril started tiring out a little bit. And Ngannou was laying his body on him, and they were, and they had the body and the body and the body, and that tires you out.
Right. He himself looked a little tired himself, though.
Correct. But I think, again, it was part of his game plan to go ahead and do those things to be able to wrestle this man to the ground.
And when you think about it, when you got these two behemoths going at, as much as they try to condition throughout their training process, listen, these dudes are always going to get more tired than
but the issue with these two guys is the issue with these guys is just like it used to be with Romero. The issue is these guys are so muscle bound.
They're tight.
They end up being anaerobic.
Yep.
They don't have enough aerobic in them. So the lactic acid builds up faster, and they run out of gas. Not because they're not prepared; it's just because their bodies don't allow them to go at that.
They're lions.
No,
They're
it's literally a different animal.
So again, the way that and it's funny because that fight had a lot of drama in it that I didn't know about. There's a lot of drama between him and Dana White, and the UFC because that was the last fight on his contract. In fact, Dana White did not put the belt around Ngannou's waist after the fight. Supposedly the night before, attorneys for the UFC had served them papers because they had talked to Jake Paul, whatever that guy is.
Right.
That guy I don't follow. That crap I don't know anything about.
You know his name, so.
But what? I guess I got lucky. I've heard it so much. But because he's been talking to them about boxing that he had mentioned. Tyson Fury, etc.
This I can help you. I've been watching most of the Jake Paul stuff. He's telling Dana White can't pay his players, that he's either cheap fighters, and he's like, look, I can pay these guys big money and all that. So they have a spat going back and forth. But if he's able to pull Ngannou off of the UFC, that's crazy.
Listen, as much of a social media celeb shock human, whatever you want to call Jake Paul is, he brought some very intellectual points to the table there when it came to pensions and insurance and higher pay. These dudes don't get what's the average pay? Something like $20,000 for a fight until they get a prize fight or
Well, it's a little bit
travesty.
higher. It's a little bit higher than that, but again, you do have to build your way up to the main card or the prelims. The early prelims, you're getting, nothing money.
15, 20.
Right. You're getting nothing in terms of how many, what you're gonna pay for, because a lot of those guys do have other jobs, and they train on the side, and it costs them money to get a nutritionist, to get a trainer. All these things do cost money, and yes, Dana White has never been an overspender. He doesn't give a lot of money. But it's also been a good business model for him, and he's been able to capitalize on it and make millions and millions of dollars on these guys being part of his brand is the brand. There is no other brand better than UFC.
Right. Well, so here's I guess here's my kind of take on it. Like, all right, you have a contract with UFC. You have to honor that contract. But what's wrong with them venturing out and looking for a boxing match?
But you can't do that because you have to understand that unless I'm going to get a part of what you're doing, you're my fighter. You're under my umbrella. You fight and represent my company. It's just like you see certain boxers with certain promoters. Bob Arum has some. Don King used to have another stable. So those fighters had to fight through their promoter, right? Because their promoter is the one who put the fights together. And then because the promoter makes a percentage of what the person is.
UFC is essentially they've monopolized. They're judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to that situation.
They're not. You can go to Bellator. But who goes to Bellator?
No, but I'm saying, you have these boxing matches that are sanctioned and whatnot, but they're not necessarily like within a brand like a UFC or an NFL, for lack of a better statement.
Because
right?
again, if you're comparing it to boxing used to have the WBA, or still does, WBA, WBC. They had certain World Boxing Council Commission and Association. Those were the governing bodies, right? In the UFC, you have the UFC as the UFC governing body for the UFC fighters. You have Bellator. You have PFL. You have 2 or 3 different brands that run their companies and their belts. That's what their belts are. You sign a contract for 8 fights, 10 fights, 5 fights. At the conclusion or before that, it's just like baseball. I signed for 5 years. Football, 6 years. Once I get to the conclusion of my contract, I have an option of I'm going to sign on, or they do. Hey, we're going to offer you, or we're not offering you anything. And that's why Ngannou said, the next contract, I need to get money. I need to pay.
I'm dictating the terms.
I need millions of dollars. I can't be getting paid $450,000, $500,000 when I'm making all this money on pay-per-view. And listen, that's where a gentleman by the name of Conor McGregor was super, super smart. Because he's the first one who got Dana White and said, this contract, I want pay-per-view numbers. I want percentages.
He's the show.
I want a portion of what I'm bringing in. And I also want to see if I can get into the company. I want to buy part of the company. I want to invest in what we're doing. So he kind of laid a little bit of a groundwork as far as that's concerned. And let me dispel something else. This whole thing that Jake Paul with the pension, there's no pension in boxing. In fighting, there is no pension because there's no association. There's no players association, no fighters association. It doesn't exist.
Well, right. No, I understand that part, but him putting it out in the universe as food for thought
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Does get it churning a little bit.
Doesn't matter.
I understand it doesn't matter until they get a union
it doesn't apply. It's not going to apply. Because what's the union going to want? Fees. The union's going to want money.
Yeah, representation.
The union's going to want money.
No, I hear you.
So you're going to take out more money from my purse already that I got to pay my manager and this guy and that guy. No, I don't need that.
I understand that. But for the the common man's fighter or somebody who's not as successful, it does like, hey, wait a minute. Like, these are good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it does get people thinking.
But again, when they start doing the math, the thinking goes out the window and say like, no. It's not profitable. I can't make any money off of this. So again, that's why when we spoke last week, when the Grizz and I spoke last week, I said it. This fight represented everything to Francis Ngannou. It represented a Tyson Fury fight. It put now the ball in Dana White's court. If he wants to make big money, it's him and Bones Jones. Now as you can bring back Bones Jones and him, and that's a multi-million-dollar fight. And I mean big time, because every household in America will want to buy that.
Yeah, everybody's buying that.
You want to see Francis beat him, because Bones Jones is a love or hate guy. A lot of people hate him. Some people love him.
Moves the needle.
He moves the needle. And Ngannou, again, is another guy that's up, and he's still, like we talked the other day, he's 35 years old. He's right in the same atmosphere there with Bones Jones. So that's Dana White's got to be like, man, that's big bucks. I'm letting go out the door.
Yeah, so back to Ngannou has the leverage here.
Right now, Ngannou is in a great position to be able to say, okay, I'll sign for this. I'll fight for 4 fights, but I want to be able to fight Tyson Fury if it comes up. We can make a deal, whatever. And that's, again, you remember, when McGregor fought Whitaker, Dana White was part of that.
Right.
Dana White had a little small portion of the promotion and things like that. So, again, it's not out of the realm that he would not do it. I just think that Ngannou called him out on it, and it didn't go down very well with him.
Didn't like that.
The other fight was Figueiredo was able to beat Moreno, which, again, that was something we discussed last week when we talked about it, that Figueiredo had a really good chance if he was able to change up some things, and he did. He was able to outmaneuver Moreno. Cejudo being in his corner was huge. But again, the grudge still isn't over. I think we're going to see a fourth fight.
Not a fourth one. He told them he's willing to give him a fourth try.
Not too long, not too far away. It's going to be a fourth fight. It's going to be a solid fight. Just like this one was. This was five rounds.
He said, I'll fight you in Mexico. He fight him in his hometown. Yeah. So I think I saw that fight, and I saw a really good. I don't know those guys personally, but I once again, another fight I was enthralled with. I thought, it's always good to see a trilogy, so these guys have history, obviously, and it's cool to see they got respect, and that's all you can ask for. They fought to the end, and let's go. You want to run it back? Let's go.
And they're still in their prime. They're not washed up fighters or anything like that. They still have a lot of future in them.
They have. They'll be leading their division for a couple years. It'll be one of them either be the champ. So, man, put it in, man. This weekend is getting me more involved in MMA. I love the drama.
There's a lot of stuff going on, man. It's a lot of stuff to get into.
I come from the old days of WWE, so I'd like to see my fights actually mean something. And if there's some drama with it, it's fun too.
I gotta credit the old mentor here for getting me into UFC. I wasn't very much into it at the beginning, and start hanging out with this guy, and it starts becoming part of daily life.
My thing is, it's just such a complete fight game. Yeah. You get me? And this fight Saturday just showed you that. Here's a guy who's been a puncher his whole life, has reinvented himself and evolved into being able to wrestle and beat a big man wrestling.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you see those fights, it's somebody's going down hard, right?
Yeah, very few guys are wrestlers. There's only one or two guys, and they're not punchers. They're strictly wrestling heavyweights.
But you can only be impressed with a guy that, without wrestling, the guy's done what he's done. He's a big name. He's an amazing
and always
fighter.
Comes in shape.
And then he goes, you know what? Now let's add to the reputoire.
And always comes in shape. He's always ripped. I mean, he's got on a scale of 257. The guy's
a freaking specimen.
At 257, you could see him
striations.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The guy is literally, we said this at the beginning, he literally is a monster.
He is.
And it's fun to watch monsters.
And I hope some of you guys took him. I did put him out there. I hope some guys put a little money on him.
Bet on sports, but
that was one of those that I really thought that he should have never been an underdog. I thought it could have been a pick 'em at most. Maybe him be a small favorite. He is a champion. He's still quite well put together.
So if this fight does happen, Ngannou versus Bones Jones, who you got?
Right now, nobody. I have to really take a look at it.
Does it depend on a blood test?
I have to do a deep dive. No, it doesn't matter if Bones Jones smokes weed or not.
Not smokes weed, but he gets on those uppers.
Nah, whatever. I mean, that's Bones Jones. He's such a complete fighter. Again, I don't know if being out of the ring so long is going to hurt him.
And that's my frustration. You talk about a tarnished legacy.
So good.
How many failed drug tests had he had?
It's disgusting.
4?
It's terrible. It's terrible that he can't control that side
Whether
of
it's
him.
PEDs,
no,
cocaine.
he drinks and he gets drunk. The last time he got drunk and got into an accident. He got pulled over DUI. I mean, it's just it's such a waste.
Wasn't one of them cocaine against DC?
Yeah, but that was a while back. That was a few years ago. I think that was like his first one. But like I said, it's just you figure after you've made 2 mistakes, you clean yourself up. You can be the poster child. You're the poster child for this.
I'm intrigued. I think it's 4.
I mean, that's what bothers me because he can be such a great champion, and he throws it away. And
no, I completely agree with you. I mean, and those are some.
And then, like I said, you got a guy like a Francis Ngannou. You get this guy here, and you see him from where he came from, where he's at, what he's gone through to get here, and you have to give him mad respect.
Yeah, that journeyman for sure.
In a couple of weeks, we will have a huge fight.
Four
No,
tests.
yeah. Listen, there was no doubt about it. I know, and he's got more than 4 because he's got stuff out of the ring.
Heard.
So, in a couple of weeks, is another huge fight. It's going to be Whitaker and Adesanya.
Oof.
That is going to be a massive, massive fight.
Style bender.
The style bender. He's one of my favorite fighters.
That guy is such a
He's a showman. He's all over, but he has such a great fight game. My only concern with him is that he doesn't overlook Whitaker, since he's already beat him once. But we'll get into that more next week as we get closer to fight night.
I believe the term is hubris, because that guy is on another level with that. All right, we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna jump right into some college basketball, full swing right here. Coachy, talk to me, because I know that you're deep diving hard right now.
No, I'm not deep diving. The Canes let me down on Saturday.
That was awful.
We gave out three college games. We won 2 out of the 3, and the only one we couldn't pull through was the Canes, because they got in such a deep hole. They fight all the way back to 1 point. They lost by 1 point.
They were down by 26.
They were down by 28 at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And they came all the way back to within 1 point with 8 seconds left, 9 seconds left on the clock, and we're not able to win the game. Again, I had said money line because I knew that game, for whatever reason, Florida State has our number. We're 0-9. 0-9.
Wow.
They have not scratched the surface in the last 9.
Well,
both games this year were by a point.
Shout out to Alan Pernas. You live by the 3, you die by the 3.
Yeah. And they had a great game against North Carolina earlier. They were,
even Maito's speech couldn't get him to the finish.
Yeah, Maito
he got him from 10
El Presidente Portnoy was enthralled with Maito's speech.
Oh, loved him.
He loved.
Right in the back. He was right.
Yeah,
in the
he
back
was standing right behind Mario, big Mario.
I saw one of his one bites, and he was just praising him. Just praising him. It's awesome.
The one here in Miami, the local pizza. Yep. Here gives the big U there.
Yep.
He's become an adopted University of Miami fan.
We'll take him.
His tan's gone a little intense lately.
But his style is definitely Miami style.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yes.
Oh, he's a bro all the way. For sure.
So,
swag.
With that, we also talked about Auburn, and Auburn is now the new number 1.
The new number 1. First time in school history.
First time in school history. They got
they
got a game tonight.
I love me some Bruce Pearl.
They got a game tonight. We'll see how that game goes. Hopefully they can hold on to that number 1 a little bit longer than the last one, because Purdue was number 1 as well, and first time in school history, and they did caca in the bed, and they didn't work very well with that.
We've had a few number 1s already. So, it's a little early, but I think Auburn, hopefully they should be able to hold on.
At least for a couple of weeks. This weekend there isn't too many big games going on. There's one game that
we got a good game right now. We got Michigan State losing by 8 to Illinois.
Come on, Illinois. I need Illinois to cover. Illinois to win by 6. That's one of the games. That's one of the games this weekend that should be interesting. Michigan visits Michigan State. So that's just one of the few. There's not too many games. It's kind of a light schedule. There's some conference games. Or what is it? Interconference games. The ACC is playing a few Big 10, Big 12.
Right now is tied at 65 with 3 minutes.
Wow,
to go.
you remember Duke in a little bit of a free fall here in the standings.
Duke and we talked about it. We said it here in the show a few weeks ago that Duke is not. They're the cream of the crop of the ACC, and the ACC is not too good. Yeah. So that tells you where we're at.
They're getting the Coach K sympathy bump.
I guess.
I mean,
there's a game Friday night. There's going to be a game Friday night between Boise and Fresno State. Keep an eye on Fresno State. They're a solid squad. They lost the other night to Utah State, but they're playing really well. I like them. They're probably going to be one of the Cinderellas, one of Grizz's Cinderellas going into round 1.
Another team I like, Arizona. I didn't see. They're playing a really good.
They're playing
UCLA tonight.
Yeah, tonight's a big game. They're favored by 2 against UCLA. That game for me is a toss-up.
Yeah.
It can go either way. It's at UCLA, so it's going to be really, and UCLA doesn't play in front of a home crowd because of the COVID mandates, which is ridiculous.
That I did not know.
Yes, they're still holding on to that.
California teams are.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's horrid. It's horrid. Alabama, I believe, lost to Georgia tonight. They were favored by 14, and they have not. They just haven't been playing well.
They lost to a lowly Georgia team.
They haven't been playing well.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I'm looking at the standings now. You got some free falls, got some teams here that are little nice surprises here. When it's all said and done, Coach, who you looking at?
I mean, I'm always looking at Gonzaga. Gonzaga's always going to be there for me at the end. I really do think Arizona makes a good run this year. They were hamstrung the last couple of years with all the investigations and things like that going on over there. But they have a loaded squad. I think Baylor's going to be there.
Yep.
Baylor's going to be a phenomenal team. I think Auburn has an incredible shot to again make a good run into the championship. And Houston, I really like Houston a lot. I think Houston plays great defense. Houston's one of the best defensive teams in the NCAA. Mm-hmm. So again, those are my top 6. And you can never count out of Kentucky. There's always 3 or 4 blue blood teams that are going to be there. Correct.
Those teams always show up.
Villanova playing very well this year.
Remember, it's always a hectic thing, man. It's March Madness. You have an off night, or you play a team that's hot that day. The best of the best go down. I mean, I think personally, all the ones you said, my biggest one is Auburn. I'm all in with Auburn, I think, right now.
And like you said,
definitely looking forward to Bruce Pearl sweating all over the court.
Oh no, he was the other night. He was
epic.
That's my kind of coach.
All time.
The other day, he was all over the place. The other day, incredible game.
Got to keep him hydrated.
Incredible game.
Think he gets an IV at halftime?
Wouldn't doubt it.
I wouldn't put anything past our boy Pearl. But with that being said, as the Grizz has mentioned about the playoffs and teams getting hot, the NCAA tournament is the epitome of the right team getting hot at the right time.
Right, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more there.
UCLA played in the first 4 in last year, didn't they? And they made it all the way to the Final Four.
They may have. I'm not
I
too
believe
sure.
they were in the first 4. So they had to play an extra game, just like VCU a few years ago. It's just you're probably gonna. That's what's gonna kind of always happen.
Yeah, they were in the first, but it was for the middle. Because remember now they have one now that's a middle bracket.
Is it 5-7?
Regardless, they were not in the. They were the number 11 seed, I believe.
What happens is they play.
It's the 5-12.
No, but what happens is one of them they play and they go into
there's 2 11 seeds and they have to play each other.
It's not just a 16 seeds because they also have a 16 seed that play.
The play-in,
but then they have one that's higher up that play together.
What they do is it's the first 4 in. Where it's 4 extra, that get in.
68.
Yeah, that's what makes the 68. Right. But you'll have 2 games involving 2 16 seeds against 16 seeds. Then you have 2 of 11 seeds probably that go. It's either 11s or 12s. But they were definitely, I saw it last year, they were one of the first 4 in. So they had that extra game.
They ended up playing Michigan State.
Yeah. So they had that extra game to play. And I mean, when you're one of those, that means you were barely in the tournament, and it's just you get hot at the right time. In that, I would say you're probably gonna get yourself a sneaky team that we don't see.
It always happens.
It's obviously January. February is gonna be a different month, and by March you kind of know who the teams are.
There's a handful of teams, like I said, on the outside. You got your Michigan States, you got an Iowa. You got a Texas Tech team that's playing good basketball.
That's another team that's always going to give
Wisconsin.
Hard time.
Wisconsin's also playing really good basketball. Wake Forest is one of the ACC teams. That's one of the better ACC teams. So you do have a bunch of teams that are again, outside the top 15 that are going to be there to give it a run.
Yeah, without shocking anybody, you're probably going to have some 4 or 5 major upsets. Then you're going to have, some Cinderella's go to the Sweet 16. And then, 3 out of the 4 probably are your top 5 teams that make it, and that other team that, hey, what are you doing here, guys? Right. And then the cream of the crop hopefully wins, because at the end of the day, I like upsets like anybody else. But I do want to see, the best against the best at the end.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I do want to see, I would like to see this year Loyola of Chicago take that next step.
Of course.
So they can, there's...
Try to become the next Gonzaga.
Right. I like it when there's mid-majors.
Try to become the next Butler.
I like it when there's mid-majors that get in there and make good runs and play good ball.
And then they get players that go, I'm going to go play over there.
Correct. And they get
and guess what?
Those coaches get opportunities to move on.
And they're going to come in probably as an 8 seed. So it's not like they're super Cinderella. They're going to be a team that, people respect.
Yeah.
And it's you kind of alluded to it earlier. Like the haves are not necessarily as separated from the have-nots as they were, in recent years. Yeah. Most notably, ACC teams, right? You just said it. At any given moment, they can get knocked out.
Right.
They're not.
And what happens is, remember now, each conference has a tournament, and those tournament champions are automatic bids.
Correct.
So by doing that, you're gonna get. You may have a weak team that got hot, they win the conference, and they get in there, and they're gonna be a 12th seed. They're gonna be a 9th seed because they're not as successful as the other teams that are above them or that have been successful all year. And to be honest with you, I'm one of those that believe sometimes that it's okay for you not to win the conference tournament as long as you get in the tournament.
Absolutely.
Right. You'd rather drop one there than an NCAA
but
tournament.
You know what? The crazy thing is now that if you become a 5 seed or a 4 seed or a 6 seed, it's already engraved in your head. Every year, two or three upsets happen in these seeds. So now the kids kind of play a little worried. Some of those 12 seeds are that. A team that's gotten hot wins the title of the tournament, and they're probably just going to win that game, that 12-5 matchup. But that's what the madness is all about.
Correct.
Not knowing that, you got in and all that, but you got to be every game focused. This is why the coaches that treat it like every weekend is one of those mini tournaments, because that's what it is. It's 4 teams that you're bracketed in, and now let's go out and win this little mini tournament. That's the way I would do it, and I just love March Madness, man. Can't wait.
It's going to be fun.
Exciting.
It's going to be fun.
Exciting.
We're going to close up tonight's show with some straight up pontification. We got some breaking news, a little bit unexpected here. Sean Payton stepping down as head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And I also kind of want to jump in and talk about Aaron Rodgers' future and Tom Brady's future. But let's kick it off with some Sean Payton talk. Coach, what are your thoughts here? Where do you think this is going to head? We
were discussing this off air. And I think he's leaving New Orleans because he does not have the control that he wants over player decisions, personnel, et cetera, et cetera. If he finds the right spot for that, then he may coach this year. It's funny because I put out there that the Dolphins and the Raiders should be running to their phone to call him. The Dolphins have a GM, so that's not. I don't think that's going to work out or be conducive. We also have the Raiders, which do have the GM spot open. So that is something that he could have potentially total personnel control and run his team the way he sees fit. I think he's a great coach. I think he does a great job. I think schematic-wise, offense, he has a great mind. New Orleans sucked. New Orleans has sucked my whole life until that guy got there.
Drew Brees helped.
But again, it doesn't matter because he's been without Drew Brees and he's won. So, again, to me, in my opinion...
This is probably his best coaching year.
Yes, agreed.
With what he had.
There's nothing lasts forever. He's been a head coach for 15 years. Eventually he's got to move on. I think that a change of scenery would re-energize him.
I think if he had a really good quarterback still, I think he might have stayed, though.
Well, I think
the Jameis Winston injury changed everything for him.
Well, it's not just the the injury. The problem is Jameis Winston's going to be a free agent. They're $70 million over the cap. So they are very limited what they can and cannot do. So that puts him in a position where I'd rather ride off into the sunset right now and then figure things out as things go.
You guys clean this up.
Yeah,
have fun.
I'll move on and you guys can do your thing.
So you think he would be lean? You think he leans when it's all said and done here and the dust settles? You think he sits at home and takes a vacation this season?
Like I said, unless a perfect situation comes up, Grizz mentioned that earlier off air that he's going to sit a year. I agree with him, unless, like I said, unless the right situation comes along.
Right.
I know Dallas has been mentioned as a possible landing spot. But again,
get rid of McCarthy.
No, but
get him out of there.
Grizz and I were talking. I don't think he'll take that because Jerry Jones wants his hands too much on that roster
100%.
and on that team. He cannot be a hands-off owner. And I think that's what hurts him from getting really good coaches.
Yeah, he has to settle for second-tier talent at the.
And I personally believe yeah, he might want the GM position also, like Gil said. But I believe the only team he would do I'll work with Jerry, because it's the Cowboys and they have that mystique. He coached there for him. I think he's gonna, like Gil said, I think he's gonna take the time off.
Offensively, they have all the pieces for him to do whatever the hell he wants.
They're probably the best team offensively that's out there that doesn't have a coach. Well, they do have a coach. I'm sorry, McCarthy, but I don't think they have a coach anyway. That guy's terrible.
So you mean the big Sam Weeble Wobble?
Yeah. So Gil was saying it's the Raiders that could probably just write the open book check for him, give him all the power he wants.
They just saved about $80 million.
And they got a pretty good offense too. And maybe, it's the right guy, to help Carr go to that next level that, a lot of people, I think Carr could, maybe if he had the right coach. So I think that's the best option for him right now too. I just think he's going to take that time to just reflect. And as always, there'll be another 5 to 6 jobs open next year, and maybe a situation that might even be better for him. But I think he takes that, hey, Drew called him and go, hey, man, this gig's pretty good, man. We just hang out, we talk, you get paid. Maybe he does the Bill Cowher route. Maybe he does the Gruden route where he's there for a long time. And because I've seen him, he's going to be good on the air. I think he could do that. But at the end of the day, you're right. I think the Raiders could be a good spot for him. I think it's the Cowboys just because of it's the version of the Yankees,
Don't ever put them in the same category.
Hey, that's what everybody says. They're America's team,
don't ever put them in. You're talking about a team that 120 that has
I
127
get it. I don't
championships.
trust me. I think the Cowboys are terrible. I think the Yankees suck too, but I just think that they have that mystique still, and they are probably still the most. I think they're worth more than any other franchise.
Yeah,
right?
they're yes, yeah. Whatever.
So money wise, they're the biggest, and it's Jerry. And even though he's on top of everything, it's still. He did mention in a comment I was saying earlier that in an interview somewhere he said I left 20% of myself in Bourbon Street. Who knows what that is? It could be left his boy Peyton. Got him back.
Huh? Let's switch gears here and let's look at Aaron Rodgers' future. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that's worth discussing here as the season goes to a close. You think we see him in a different jersey, or you think he's running it back?
He's gone.
Oof, that is a pensive look, sir.
Number one, I think he's still under contract. So that's number one.
I think he has 2 more years, maybe something like that.
So they would have to be willing to trade him. That's number one. Number two, I think they're going to do everything humanly possible to keep him and keep most of the other pieces around him.
It's a lot of money we're talking about.
But I do think they have cap space. I think they have enough cap space where they can keep Devontae and they can structure things. And if
he's gonna command 35% of their cap.
We go back to what the Grizz and I were talking about last week as to why Tom Brady has always been so successful.
He took pay cuts.
It's not just him. He was willing to only take $25 million. Do you guys a favor? Just give me $25 million a year.
But Aaron doesn't do the same things that Tom
does. But my problem is this. But again, if you want to win, right? If you want to win the Super Bowl, if you want to be that guy, right? You have to understand what it takes to win.
Correct.
You have to understand, what do I need? What do I need?
But I totally get that. You know that I get that. But they were the number one team in the NFL this year. I mean, they've had a 13-3 or better record for 3 years in a row. I mean, I think they're giving him enough. Like we've said over and over before, the picking of this quarterback was stupid, I think, in the first round, giving him another weapon. Other than that,
I think
they've been stout.
And that's what frustrates me about this conversation and everything surrounding it is that the people that are saying that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have enough around him.
No, I'm not saying that.
Averaging 13 wins a season. No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying, but like,
but if you take a look at the game they lost on Saturday, special teams cost them the game.
Special teams has cost them the playoffs.
So
I don't know how many years.
It's not really the offense's fault, even though people blame Rodgers for not winning the game. And that was another argument that I had, which is ridiculous. Okay.
He did look a little tense.
He was looking. The problem with that is he goes too much to Devontae. But with that being said, as a head football coach, you need to say, okay, look, we're gonna look off. We're gonna come over here. We're gonna hit this. We're gonna hit Tonkin. We're gonna hit different guys. The issue is that those guys do not have a great chemistry with him the way that Adams does.
Right.
So he loses a little bit on the throwing and on the completions. Okay. Now, with that being said, the best place for him, in my opinion, really is Green Bay.
It's Green Bay, for sure.
I don't think he has a better landing spot than that.
My issue surrounding it is like there is a contingent of our fellow talking heads and media, journalists, whatever it is, that contend that he doesn't have enough around him to win. And I think that's absolutely absurd. Like, he's got 2 stud running backs. He's got probably arguably the top receiver in the game. He's got secondary receivers as well. It's not like those guys are scrubs.
And
that defense played lights out this year.
The defense is not an issue. But I think the tight end position can be upgraded. I think the offensive line position.
Coach, but that's a far cry from saying he doesn't have enough weapons.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't have weapons. Again, I'm not.
Which is a contingent.
I haven't said that because I believe that
the media.
I think that Lazard is a good second receiver. I think Lazard is a real nice secondary receiver. My issue with them is I don't think their offensive line is good enough. I think they keep hanging their hat on Bakhtiari, and that guy is hurt every year. And again, he was hurt on Saturday, and he couldn't be there.
He had like a torn ACL or something like that.
He had an ankle. Like it's always an ankle, or he's had a knee.
Yeah.
Yes, he's had numerous injuries. Okay, so again, man, let's shore up the offensive line. Let's get players there. You've got 2 good running backs, as you said. You got a decent tight end in Tonkin. Let's find another guy that could be another tight end. You've got 2 good receivers. Find yourself a third, which Randall Cobb came in to be the third, but Randall's got no more wheels. Randall's done. So
Randall Cobb was in a wheelchair this year.
Listen, I think all those points are valid. Makes all the sense in the world. He's gone. He's gone. He's going to find another team. They're going to trade him away.
Where does he land, Grizz?
I don't know, man. I'm not a predictor of these things, but I know that I feel the prediction that I'm going to give you is that he's not going to be part of the Green Bay organization.
He's not going to be. He won't be a Green Bay. That's a prediction.
And it's sad because I think he should just finish it out there. But I think there's too many hurt feelings. Also, this whole year's been in his poor world a trying year for him, and then yet again to have this. Who knows? Maybe he just leaves and really becomes the host of Jeopardy. Who the hell knows? Who knows? Maybe he leaves, and then Tom Brady says, "I'm out of Tampa Bay, and I go to Green Bay." He wins over there, and then Tom Brady. I heard this earlier, so I'm just taking it out the guy I heard, but it was hilarious because he goes, "Maybe Tom Brady just spends the rest of his next 3-4 years going from team to team and winning Super Bowls."
Yeah, Tom
Brady,
just a mercenary.
Yeah, just a mercenary, or maybe Rodgers does the same thing too. Who knows? Let's just do that, because first of all, If Rodgers does leave, I don't think he'd go to the AFC because he's got too many young guns to go through in the AFC. But
you're going with the LeBron theory.
Yeah, so I think it's the smart theory, and that's why I think Brady was smart by leaving the AFC and going over, and playing with the Bucs. And yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's either retiring or he's going to play with the Bucs.
Oh, segue.
But I mean, at the end of the day, Rodgers I think leaves because I think there's just too much problems they got that I don't think they're going to solve them. I mean, they could solve them, and he could stay. And I think that's the best way for him to finish his career because even though you lose, you still have a great team every year. And at the end of the day, you do not want to go to a team that the year before probably had 6 wins.
But he already said that. He's already discounted rebuilds.
Yeah. And remember, Green Bay wants to do what's best for them, so it's not like they're going to really try their hardest to cater to your ever wishing.
Right. Remember, they're a publicly owned franchise, so they need to take care of their own interests as well, which I think is kind of part of the issue as well. There, they kind of have to hedge themselves in advance. But the only place I could conceivably think that he would land that would make some sort of sense is San Francisco.
Correct.
Because that would be a market upgrade there.
I mean, they've mentioned the Broncos. They've mentioned a couple of places that are a quarterback away that have weapons. But again, I don't see him going
anywhere. There's like, where else are you going to go? Now, switching from the boat to the GOAT, is he coming back? Is he running it back? Or is he riding off into the sunset with Giselle?
This is the first time that he has ever mentioned going or talking to his family. This is the first time he's ever put his family in the mix. He's always talked about, well, I got to prepare. It's the first time he's talking, I got to sit down with the family and talk to the family. So I do think that he may be leaning towards that's it. I think he's leaning towards
Deuces.
hanging him up and moving on.
Let me tell you, the way he lost, great way to go out. He still came back. He didn't lose the game. He brought them back and had the.
And he had a terrible game.
And he had a terrible game.
But nobody remembers he had a terrible game.
Doesn't matter. They just remember the greatness of his comeback. So, does he want to do it? If he does it, the guy's he's going to be 45 next year, man. You know what I'm saying? It does come to a time where he knows.
It's kind of unfortunate, right? Like how they were on kind of like their last legs. Like how much more could have they withstood in the season? Losing Godwin, the AB saga.
That's why you come back, though, because you go
decrepit defensive backfield.
But you come back because you still got to where you're at with all those things against you that you could now improve next year. You'll get Godwin back. You'll get a lot of pieces back, and let's hope this year you're not.
And he'll be a domino because if he goes, Gronk goes.
Yeah, of course. Gronk is gone for sure.
Gronk's a done deal if he's a done deal.
And Gronk is not going to play with anybody else anyway. And he's not going to look as good with anybody else because Tom Brady is the man. You got to, once again, I say this. Don't like him because he was a Patriot early in my career, but if you're going to say you think he's not good, you're not smart. Guy is the best quarterback probably ever because of he's just a machine.
Greatest quarterback.
He's the only coach I've seen on the field. That guy he does anything he wants.
No, it's funny. Can I tell you?
Do not do the sheriff a disservice.
Let me tell you something.
Peyton Manning? Yeah.
No, let me tell you.
I love Peyton Manning, but
let me tell you, I was listening to Charlie Weiss the other day. I was listening to Charlie Weiss the other day.
Peyton Manning's got a winning record against
offensive coordinator
Tom Brady
for the Patriots.
Yep.
Ex-head coach of Notre Dame. Yeah. And he said that. He said that he embodied the player coach the most he's ever seen anyone. Yeah. Says this is a guy that can process things pre-snap, post-snap, and knows how the play's going to develop and where to go. So you have a coach on the field. Those were Charlie Weiss's words.
No, Peyton could be a coach on the field too, but I
thought that was
Tom Brady's the best ever to do it.
Yeah.
And if he wanted to become a coach, he'd probably be great at that too.
No doubt.
He also has a bomb wife. Anyway, you know who will be back next week? We will.
I know.
God willing, yes, sir.
But before we go, we need to talk real quick about the Miami Heat right now. We've been sleeping on the NBA right now because we've had so many other things, but I got to say, we have the number one team in the East with everything. Talk about a team that's gone through injuries. Every player on this team has been out for at least 3 or 4 games, I believe, at one point, and they are doing it with culture. They are doing it with the right way to do it. Eric Spoelstra should be the coach of the year. The guy's never won it. I think he should be in line for that. They're playing amazing and got to represent, man. We got the Heat on fire right now.
Talk to me in May and June.
I know, but we were there 2 years ago in the finals, man, and we're proving that that's not a fluke kind of team, and we're only adding. And our players are getting better and better.
They're playing good ball.
Dude, I will say this: that there is a lot to say.
Never heard of
there is a lot to say.
Team
in a prima donna league right now. They are some gritty SOBs.
And by the way, I heard today that Oladipo is starting to look.
Come on, man! We're gonna.
He's almost ready to come back. So that adds another little layer into the team.
We're going to be so deep in the playoffs that's what you need. You need a deep
Correct
team.
me if I'm wrong, right? But
we will. Don't worry.
Oh, I know you guys keep me accountable.
For sure.
Hey,
go ahead.
You weren't here last week to talk about your Eagles.
You love keeping me accountable.
We have to. Your head's big enough as it is. Go ahead.
Well, I got a tiny head. No. 7 1/8.
No. Go ahead.
This team kind of reminds me of the Detroit Pistons in the early 2000s, right? Like the sum was greater than the parts. They were a gritty team.
Listen,
they weren't like superstars.
Those guys were animals. Yeah. Those guys were beasts.
But again, they weren't in the same manner.
No, yes.
Listen, we got a bunch of guys that carry their lunch pails to work and they're ready to fight.
That's it.
All those guys, man. we got some dogs.
We do. And by the way, I want to throw something out there too. I'm going to go a little bit off topic, but now that you mentioned lunch pail and dogs, the Canes are doing away with a turnover chain and all that garbage.
I love it.
And we're getting back to some real football.
I love
and we're here to play.
Listen, it was,
and we're here to, hey, congrats, good job.
Maribel.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. It was fun when it was. But like anything else, it loses a shtick.
Moving right
and
along.
not for nothing goes right when you're losing.
Yeah.
So had you been winning, it might have stuck. You didn't. We got to change the culture.
Bring your lunch pail to work. Bring your lunch pail to work. We'll hand you a lunch pail when you get a turnover.
Let's get a lunch pail.
Can I tell you
bring a lunch
something?
pail
With that little French bulldog that they have at offensive line coach. Listen, that wasn't sticking around either way. I'm telling you right now.
I'm telling you.
That little guy is.
Yeah. How about the strength coach, man?
Nails.
The strength coach is off the chain, man.
I didn't mean to get us off topic, but just fine. Let's talk about lunch pail and we're talking about work. I thought that was important. I thought that's great.
It's always, first of all, you can always
talk about setting.
You can always break up anything I'm saying if you're gonna bring any good talk about the Canes.
What a great time. I'm glad to see that happening and moving in that direction. Maybe we can get back to playing some football and stop all this crap that we're doing.
Everybody's always been worried about, the stuff on the outside. You got us worried about the stuff on the inside. And
on the field,
what, man? You win, things come, bro.
Side note, isn't it insane how those two played offensive line next to each other in high school? That tiny human against that, or next to that monster, and they played on the same O-line at Columbus. It's insane.
I think it's fun.
So, like I said, we'll be back next week. Ladies and gentlemen, followers of the culture here, please share, subscribe, follow, listen, talk about us, feedback, okay? Emails, messages, direct messages, all that good stuff. Keep the momentum going. It's been fun. I didn't know how much I enjoyed it until I missed it last week. It's amazing. I enjoy every minute of it. When we're together, it's truly something it's not work for us. It's definitely enjoyable. So, with that being said, gentlemen, it was a pleasure and an honor. We'll be back next week to run it back again.